Today we're going to talk about our best-selling product, that is our line Pre, called PRE III LPX. It's a product that I'm particularly proud of. It has everything that we look for in a line preamplifier and a phono in one compact package. So it's an integrated line preamplifier with phono. The advantage of having the phono inside the line Pre is that we don't need an additional wiring, so we minimize the noise floor through the additional EMI, RFI, so radio frequency electromagnetic interference pickups. We get even a lower noise floor. Plus, we can match the output of the phono and the input of the line Pre, so they work harmonically together. It is our performance level 3 product, and level 3 designates a midpoint between performance and affordability. Anybody who has serious aspirations in improving their sources and drive their power amps at its maximum potential, PRE III line preamplifier is an ideal product for that. Why do we need a line preamplifier at all? Most sources nowadays have significant output level amplitude of the signal. Theoretically, we could connect them directly to an integrated amplifier or over the passive volume control to our power amplifier. What's the advantage of having an active line preamplifier over a passive one? The main advantage is the level of energy that an active line stage can introduce or contribute to the original source. Most manufacturers produce sources that lack the drive to drive the power amplifiers. And it's very apparent because one connects a source to an integrated amplifier and then connects the same source over active line preamplifier, one notices the difference in the level of energy and the drive that line preamplifiers is capable of producing. A great line preamplifier is going to enhance the energy levels at which the source is basically going to provide the signal to the power amps. That is one of those important aspects. And the other second aspect that goes with that is actually also being able to drive the next gain stage without any losses. And here the output impedance is a very crucial aspect. Our line Pre is taking care of this by employing signal output transformers. Because we have all tube designs that have zero negative feedback, a signal output transformer is the best decoupling invisible component that connects the line Pre to the next gain stage, so the power amplifier. And it does so by stepping down the amplitude but stepping up the current without having a loss in the low frequencies acting as a filter. The stepping down function of the signal output transformers decreases the output impedance, which is so crucial to drive the longer cable runs and maintain or enhance the energy level of all power amplifiers. So the two aspects that I mentioned, the basically enhancing and preserving the energy levels of the source signal and improving the drivability of a source by stepping down a signal and stepping up ability to deliver current to consecutive gain stage, that is one of the key features every great preamplifier should have. By driving the next consecutive gain stage and by energizing it, our preamps act like a supercharger. In a way, it's a supercharging device that enhances and improves ability of the source to drive the consecutive gain stage. When we supercharge, it's very easy to degrade the signal. So the signal integrity is very important. Our main objective is to preserve the original recording. We want to avoid any degradation, so any manipulation of it. That's why our line Pre's are only 2 gain stage designs, and they have 0 negative feedback loops globally, locally, or anywhere. So this is like 2 amplification devices in series, almost connected in a straight wire. Now, in order to enable our line preamplifiers to perform at the maximum transparencies, and that's where the signal transformers at the output of the line Pre, that's where they come in, because these are the superior devices if we compare them to signal capacitors. Signal capacitors tend to remove more information. They tend to remove more dynamics because they require resistors. In the signal output transformers, all the loading is performed by the inductance of the primary winding, so which we can achieve a much lower DCRs, and we have less energy losses, less distortion, and maximum transparency if we use the right type of conductors and core material. So the higher the quality core in the signal output transformer over line stage or any other system component, the more signal integrity we can achieve and the more transparency and less losses we have. Our Pre-III, so that's the entry level into our higher levels of performance of our Pre-IV and Pre-V. They all share one thing in common, is the line outputs topology, which is using the signal output transformers. Equally as important, they're employing power output valves. In our Pre-V, for example, we use the 45 valves, which are known to produce 2 watts of single-ended class A power and be able to drive loudspeakers. That's plentiful if we use high efficiency, high sensitivity type of acoustics. We use the same power tubes inside our other source device. So like for example, the 45 is being used in the DAC 5 and the LPU5 and also in our Pre-V. So in the phono and line stages in our performance level 5, we use the 45 directly heated triodes, and these are power output tubes capable of driving very high loads such as speakers. So the output stage topology is exactly the same, using power output tubes and using signal output transformers. And that is found in our higher performance level 5. Now at the level 3, we use the EL84, which were very popular in the 60s. They were used in the majority of guitar amplifiers and in the radios. Now we use the EL84 in our AMP1 Genie, in our integrated amplifier. It's almost identical output stage. And we use it in the DAC 3 balanced, DAC 2 balanced, and inside our Pre-III and LPU3 phono. One can clearly see that we have a system that is very systematic application of certain output tube types with the tube decoupling topologies, so using the signal output transformers. We developed the whole performance system from ground up, starting from entry level, level 1 up to statement level X. What's the difference between a small signal tube and a power out stage tube? The main difference is the amplification factor and the internal resistance, so the ability to drive consecutive loads. The price that one needs to pay for the power output stages is that usually those tubes are biased to run in much higher currents. Higher currents means we can't have subpar power supplies. So all our power supplies needs to be beefy and they need to be able to cope with the extra current. That makes in turn a product to have more and larger core transformers. They should maintain, stay cool and be able to handle the current that the power output stages require to operate. Their size and their quality of the cores and everything associated is crucial for the sound of the product, because that's where the sound originates. It's the power supplies, that's the energy. I'd like to remind everybody we have power output tubes, so they operate usually at the 40 milliamperes type of range. It's over 100 milliamperes of current we need to be able to supply. That needs to be supplied in the most efficient way, most energy preserving way, so that the dynamics and the power delivery is not degraded in any sort of way. So that's why you're going to see inside our line Pre an oversized M6 Orient grade silicon steel core transformer, which not only is superior in its transparency, but it's also fully adequate to be able to handle the currents that the EL84 require. And in order to supply that DC current, we also require DC power supply, which has an adequate, powerful, directly heated tube rectifier that is basically borrowed from our power amplifier. Anything else is not going to do the job adequately. And anybody who experimented with directly heated tube rectifiers understand the importance of that power generation and power delivery in the power supplies output stages. Nothing is being saved, everything is of the highest potential and highest quality. Experimenting with different line preamplifier designs in my early days, I noticed that the biggest bottleneck to line preamplifier is not just its output stage, but actually at the very beginning. The biggest harm is done very much in the beginning, when the signal enters the line preamplifier. Usually on most of the valve designs, before the gain stage, the first gain stage is usually an attenuator. This attenuator degrades the signal in two aspects. First, transparency, and second, it tames the dynamics due to the resistive nature of obviously a stepped attenuator and resistors put in place. There's one way around it. Well, I've seen some designers using transformer volume control, so TVC. They also change the tonality very much due to the change of the transformation ratio and the output impedance that comes with that, and therefore they are not only acting as volume controls but also like equalizers. So the tonality at the low volume is totally different as opposed to if we turn up the volume control, and the higher volume levels is again different. Not going to observe this deficiency with our line pre's. The tonality remains exactly the same, balanced across every attenuation step. Every time we rotate the volume control, you can still hear very well the dynamics at low volumes are very much there. If we turn it up, dynamics don't change. This is one of the key aspects of a line preamplifier. Volume control without degradation to the signal. So signal integrity is so important. And signal integrity is being seriously bottlenecked by the volume control itself. There are a lot of solutions out there that offer a remote controlled and digital volume controls. These are all convenience features which have a very degrading effect on signal integrity, because they employ some sort of motors connected to the power supplies, which in turn affect the signal. One of the reasons we don't do that is because we are looking to maximize the performance. That's why we use our own in-house designed stepped attenuators. The convenience of adjusting it remotely is not there, but what matters is the performance. And the performance are just simply unsurpassed. The whole idea why people go and adjust the volume control is because different recordings come recorded at different loudness levels. So if the recording goes down, they want to adjust it. Why do they want to adjust the volume control in the first place? Because the dynamics are no more present. And therefore they feel that they need to have the urge to adjust. If you have the dynamics at lower volume levels, you don't need to adjust anything. So the superiority of our attenuators over any other type on the market is that because we maintain the signal integrity as much as possible, there's no loss to the dynamics, no change in tonality, then simply what happens is once one adjusts the volume control to a desirable level, there is no need to go and to readjust it. Why does it the most of the harm? It's because it stands in the very beginning of the line preamplifier. So anything that it removes is then very difficult to be restored. So any sort of damage already done is going to be amplified in every consecutive gain stage. Once we lost signal integrity, then whatever we amplify on the later gain stages and it then passed on to power amplifiers has been either removed or damaged. We don't need that. So having a highest grade attenuator is crucial. It's an integral part of our line preamplifier design. Pre-III LPX signifies that there is an LPU Phono stage integrated inside the Pre-III, which offers certain advantages over the separate product, which is the lower noise floor, better match integration with the pre-amplification. And on top of that, there's an extra 2 gain stages, which enable us to work with lower MC output cartridges. Sometimes we need this extra gain, or some recordings have very low levels of loudness, and we like to have a little bit extra gain. That's where it all comes in. The Pre-III Phono, as the name implies, LPU, so is very similar or akin to the LPU1. It was derived from the LPU1 to fit inside the Pre-III, but it is actually an LPU1 on steroids. It is a supercharged version of the LPU1 and has been being basically boosted to be almost like on the level 3 by using a fixed bias of all the gain stages. when one looks in the LPU1 at our performance level 1, it's just automatic bias. It's versatile, it's stable, it works. But for gaining an extra inch of performance, we went full out and made the phono stage inside the Pre to be fixed biased version of that LPU1. It's a 2-gain stage design. The input tubes, the EF86, are the successors to our larger octal pentodes, which are found inside our LPU4 and LPU5 phono preamplifiers. These are just the miniature version, so the EF86. They came originally from reel-to-reel tape recorders, so they were employed in those studio tape recorders in the 60s. These master tapes that we obtained from the 60s, they were recorded through these pentodes, input stages. Anybody who witnessed the sound of the EF86 or 6SJ7 or those derivatives, they will tell you what the sound character is. And the sound character is very different from normal triodes. They have this extra lushness to them, the extra aliveness in them. Something is very different about these EF86 and family type of pentodes. So this characteristic is part of that phono design that is shared across all our phono range, just in different type of format of the tubes, so that larger tubes make larger sound. The input stage is the classic input stage that you're also going to find inside LPU1, LPU2 and LPU3. Exactly identical input stage. As an output stage, we use the mighty 6N6P. That is also a very well-known driver tube, so it's just not small signal tube, it's a driver tube. We also use the same tube inside our DAC1 and DAC2, so the basic single ended version. Between the gain stages of the EF86, the 6N6P, we have a ReAA equalization stage, which is quasi-active equalization stage. It has a huge advantage over the passive ones. It doesn't employ any serious resistors, which are detrimental to the energy levels and eat up the energy transfer between the gain stages. We have no serious resistors, and we only use the highest quality of capacitors in the equalization filtering network there. The signal integrity is very high. One can hear it very well, how vivid and alive the vinyl and phono generally can sound. So we take it to the highest performance, and it's a proven concept that works across all our phono range. When we improve the energy levels or preserve the energy levels from the source, in no way we want to do it at the cost of transparency. So we want to have maximum signal integrity. And that's only possible, as I mentioned earlier, with elegantly simple circuit design with highest materials and components. We maintain the signal integrity by having fewer of these materials and components, but when we use them, the quality of the conductor and resistors and capacitors and every other passive component matters so much. We have virtually no resistors in series other than the series resistor that is inside our stepped attenuator. And the conductors that we use are the most transparent sounding. And we also offer silver conductors. Amount of silver that is being used inside our line preamplifiers is basically designated by the version. The circuit remains the same. Silver does a great deal with enhancing the harmonic richness of a signal. The difference between our standard or special, classic and signature version is basically the amount of silver that is being used in signal output transformers. So starting with the signature version, that is our highest quality silicon steel alloy in the core, which is double C core shaped. It uses silver in the primary windings and it uses silver in the secondary windings. That is the most transparent combination money can buy, because silver has the highest harmonic richness of any conductor material known to me. Then we have the 50% of copper, 50% silver version, which is called classic. It has the same core material as the signature version, but it's called classic version. And it boasts the best of both of copper sound qualities and silver sound qualities. Then we have the all copper version, which is our special version, which is again sharing the same core material, the super high B double C core material as used in the classic and the signature version, but instead of having a silver in the primary and secondary ore, it uses copper in the primary and copper in the secondary. That's our special version. And then we have more affordable version, which is our standard version, which uses M6 silicon steel as an EI core transformer, which has copper on both windings. Well, I think everybody is going to be satisfied with the basic standard version of the Pre-III. If somebody is looking for the maximum harmonic richness, that's going to be then the signature version. And if one wants to have a very balanced sound without having too much silver or too much copper sound, that's the classic version. Anybody who is very serious in reproducing music at the highest possible performance at any price level, the Pre-III is one of the best choices there is.